everybody, and welcome to WTS 284. My name is Danny Murray.
And I'm Graham Merrigan.
Mero, how are you?
A1, how are you?
I'm great, man. I'm acting like we didn't just do an intro 5 seconds ago. The episode before this. Oh, I love it. We didn't think this through at all, did we?
No,
sure. We didn't. Look, we're peeling back the curtain, lads. We're doing 2 episodes in 1 week, and we're recording some of it like just back to back. And yeah, listen. It's all good. You're here for the guest. You're not here for us. Well, some of you are here for us, and that's great and all that. But you're here for the guest. You're here for the guest.
Absolutely.
So let's just jump straight in, then, Mero, because we've absolutely ruined this, and there's no point in trying to trick people any longer. Who is our guest for WTS 284?
Our guest. So we why am I getting tongue-tied? Our guest this week is brilliant sports journalist, and I would urge anyone to read his articles. He's now working full-time for the 42.ie, David Sneyd. Dave, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you? You keeping well?
Thanks for joining us.
Not bother. Thanks for asking me on.
We're just going to go on a tangent because obviously we have the League of Ireland season upon us. Ireland about to go into the qualifiers with France and all that buzz, and also our Irish abroad I think they're kind of doing well. Some of the players probably more so in the lower leagues, but I mean we constantly hear of Ireland being in a bad state or whatever, but our underage some of our underage lads and more senior players are doing well in the lower leagues of England.
It's just a mad environment. Like the level of competitiveness from League One up, even League Two, Championship, obviously in the Premier League. But just obviously if you're focusing on England, it's just like the nature of where clubs now are going to get players. And I know it's been said for ages about like different markets and players coming from all over, but it's now kind of filtering down to every level of England, of English football, and even in Scotland as well. But it's like I know there's a couple of those, isn't there? Like I follow them as well, just because there's so many different players. Like there's some of the accounts you see, like the Kenny's Kids account on Twitter. That's very good for kind of tracking lads I've never even heard of, I'll be honest. Yeah, like the LOA Rodman, there's the Republic of Ireland tracker one as well. But it's just the nature of it. Like I'm 34 now, and I've been almost feel as if it could be caught in a cycle of writing about certain stories with lads of, they go abroad, it's very difficult for them to settle, and then they come back, and that story that kind of whole story just seems to be as always that, you know what I mean? It just seems to be non-stop. It's like,
it's still prevalent, like
100%, yeah, like it really is. And like when I remember you got in touch with me on the back of it, the piece I did over last week, I was going over and speaking to various different people at different levels, and it's mad. Like even just listening to someone like John O'Shea, who's achieved so much in the game, but then when he gets into a different part of football in terms of coaching, it's just the exact same. He's back to square one almost, you know what I mean? Like there's so many coaches over there, and yeah, like he's obviously achieved a lot, and you do have to have your contacts and all the rest of it in the game, but he's almost starting from scratch again, you know what I mean? And like you're speaking to lads who are on loan and play and still young, like Gavin Kilkenny and Will Smallbone, under 21 internationals. Still, they're only making their way in the game, and yeah, someone like John O'Shea is kind of going through something similar to them in terms of just trying to find that pathway for himself now in a new element of
what's
of
Big
football.
John doing these days?
He's first team coach. Yeah, he's first team coach with Stoke City, and like even there, like he's in there. He was brought in by Michael O'Neill, obviously in former Northern Ireland, and managed a team in the League of Ireland for a while, and what you call it, and but like then O'Neill loses his job, but then like O'Shea was very open about, you kind of have a chat with the new manager, and if he doesn't want you, you're out the door, you're gone. You kind of not that he has to kind of almost make his case for why you should keep him in terms of the work he does around the club and the kind of stuff he'd be doing. Obviously he was kept on kind of thing, but it's just very interesting because like even that whole, it's kind of one of the things that stuck in my head, even from a good few years ago. You might have seen Jack Chew. He came back to play in the league for a little bit. His dad is Paul Chew, the referee.
Yeah.
Obviously
The
he's now
referees.
retired. Yeah, I think he's retired now. I think he's finished now. Well, he is. But I remember speaking to him a few years ago. He was at Derby County as a youngster, you know. And I remember speaking to
Right.
him when I used to work for the Daily Mail, the Irish Daily Mail, and about 5 or 6 years ago, and he was telling me about the last week he had in England when he'd been released by Derby. His agent got him a couple of trials, and he was driving his own little, say, I think it was a Vauxhall Corsa or whatever, his Opel Corsa down to the south of England, and he went on a trial, and he banjaxed his leg. He was injured. He got injured, and in a trial match, and his agent stopped fucking answering his phone calls when he was trying to get suss out. He was
No way.
staying in his own hotel by himself that he had organised. Then the club basically, I think, just dropped him to the train station after the trial was finished, and he'd been injured. And literally drove home, got the boat, literally drove. I can't remember what part of it was, down the south of England and all that. And he drove for like 4 hours or something back to Holyhead to get the boat back to Dublin. And that was him finished. Do you know?
Jeez.
And like that
Mad.
story,
It's sad as well, though, isn't it?
well, that's just crazy. But that kind of story is something that just stuck with me for so long, where you kind of realise when all these lads go over that, like the ones who can stick it, and it's not even just sticking it by being away from home, but just being able to get those breaks and get a first contract, get your second contract.
Yeah.
Have that little bit of luck with injury, and you've seen obviously now with Evan Ferguson, just on a different scale, but just kind of that shows you how your progress can be halted at a key moment. But on the opposite end of that, there's so many lads who wouldn't have the talent of an Evan Ferguson, but are still trying to fight to have that career, and then it can be gone like that. And that kind of story where with Jack has kind of stuck with me over the last few years, because it just shows you, like, people would never even know something like that has happened, and then you realise, well, why would you want to have anything to do with football again when that's how it's treated you, and what you've been through, you know? And that's kind of stuck with me in terms of when we've been speaking to players. You want to kind of understand, well, what they've been through to actually stick with it. And like some of my own friends will say, look, why, like, Jez, they're playing football, like, so what? Everyone goes through shit time in their life or in their work and all, and it is true, but it just seems like in football, it just seems even so much harsher. It really does for some young lads, you know.
Yeah, well, it's lonely as well because you're away from friends and family. Like that Jack story reminds me of a story when Pajo was released from Wolves and he was trying to get trials. He went to Walsall, he went to Torquay, he showed up at Kidderminster Harriers one morning. He said his uncle set it up. Well, his uncle told him he set it up, and when he showed up, they didn't know who he was. His uncle was just like fobbing him, not fobbing him.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? Fobbing him.
But
His uncle was just like, just show up and just see what happens there.
yeah,
Played a few games for Kidderminster, but I mean, you're saying there, Jack was going around in his little car, Padge was going around in his little Peugeot 206 trying to get fucking trials from little non-league teams and League Two teams. But those type of clubs now seem to be like suitable destinations. When you look at Aidan Keena going to Cheltenham Town, like.
I know. Yeah, but see, this is the thing as well. And like, remember when Georgie Kelly signed for Rotherham last season at the start of last year, and obviously Rotherham at that point were still in League One, and people were saying, well, why would you go to Rotherham? But then if you look at the photos that were being used when he actually was unveiled, and you see the stadium that's behind them, and then you see the training ground, like even some of the facilities, like when I was over, again, I'm only just using it because it's the most recent example, but it kind of just stuck again. It just kind of, people say, well, why would you go there? But like Stockport County, you know what I mean? Like they're a League Two club. They're training out. They took over the old training ground that belonged to Sale Sharks, the rugby union.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and literally next door, I'm not even messing. Literally, it's like a bad corner kick that wouldn't be the first man away from like where Man City train in Carrington, you know.
Yeah.
And then the next patch over, a mile over, is United's training ground in Carrington. But it was just being over there, and you see that where these lads are going to every single day, the pitches that they're using, the gym that they have, the just going in, like a few different chefs, there be 5 or 6 groundsmen working on the training ground alone. Do you know what I mean? This is a League Two club. Now they're owned, I can't remember your man's name now, his name is just escapes me at the moment, but they're owned by like one of the richest people in the northwest of England, the property developer.
That's right. It wasn't wearing Salford trying to use the pitch as well.
Was that what was it? Yeah.
Yeah, Salford were. I remember watching an episode of that Gary Neville's thing, Class of '90.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't say,
Christmas. and they were talking about he had meetings with that Sale Sharks. Is it Sale? Yeah, Sale Sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
to
that's the thing.
play in the ground, like.
That's it. Like, so, and like a lot of these clubs, I don't get me wrong, some clubs maybe wouldn't have the same level, but like that's the thing is obviously now with Brexit it's going to change it slightly, and obviously in terms of when lads can go over. But like, sure, wasn't that long ago as well that remember a few players went. I think it was from Kevin's went to a League One club as well, and there was kind of uproar about that. And I can't even remember now what the club was, but there was a few of them went. I think Luke Wade Slater might have been one of them,
Right.
Who actually ended up coming back to Bowes. But like, it's, you can understand now why kids will do it, because a lot of times they might have an agent saying, "Come here," and then we'll end up going somewhere else, or we'll get
Stepping
you in,
stone.
yeah, a little bit. But again, sometimes that can just be a way. A young man might go there on the basis of what he's being told, and yeah, he gets there and you realise it's completely different, that he was being there for a different reason, you know, and that kind of stuff can go on, you know. But
It's
definitely
also
does go on. I remember talking to Ricer when he went to Palace under 23s, and I remember saying, and I wasn't being ignorant or anything like that, but I remember saying, why 23s instead of like, because he was in with a shout with the Shells job at the time when Ian Morris got it, and I remember saying to him, why under 23s over, say, a League of Ireland team? He says, "Maro, the facilities,
yeah,
Palace are outrageous," he said.
oh, it's quality.
The academy is outrageous, you know.
Yeah.
So, like, players, just to back up what you were saying there, like, when you hear someone like Aidan Keane going to Cheltenham, I mean, I bet you the facilities are probably better than any League of Ireland team.
Well, you don't know. Well, I'll be honest. Actually don't know what the setup is like at Cheltenham. Like, fairness, Rovers like Bowes have got a great setup now, obviously out in DCU, and the lease that they have there, and what they can do. Obviously, Rovers have roads down Cork City, have their own base at Bishopstown. Like Pats train out up at Ballyulster, so they use Ballyulster's facilities. Like, so other clubs, some clubs have just got far better infrastructure, you know. It's just because it's just the nature of what's been happening over the last number of years with investment. But then there's other stories, like it was only a few years ago at Oldham when Jack Bourne was there and Patrick McElhenney was there, and like they were in an awful state in how the club was being run and mismanaged. So there is that element to it as well. But it's more so a case, I think, what hopefully will start happening here is just with lads where bit by bit, when hopefully facilities can improve and infrastructure is improving, clubs recognise that young lads, when they do go away, and if it's a case of being seen at a League One club and all the rest of it, or League Two or whoever it is, that they're going maybe because they do feel it's a better opportunity football wise, and not just because it's much better facilities. You know what I mean? Like that's a very basic thing. Like, this is something that I'm sure everyone in League of Ireland has been speaking about for the last number of years, and it just seems like it does seem as if clubs now are beginning to kind of at least put some emphasis on actually improving that side of things, you know. And then now obviously they have to with Brexit and the fact that they're like with the underage structures as well. That's just going to be another element to it as well, where parents aren't going to want their children going into an environment that they don't feel is actually up to standard as well. Do you know what I mean? And they have to make sure that that's up to scratch. So, I think that's just something that's
Brexit
basic,
though.
you know?
Some of the Brexit stuff as well though has been interesting, in is that there's a lot of underage players that have gone to Serie A, like Cal Heffer, James Abanku, you know, Festi Abasola. There's another underage guy.
Liam Kerrigan went to Como, then he did his ACL.
That's right. And then there was another guy today linked with Lecce, I think it is. But, so what's the story there with the Serie A looking at Irish players?
Well, like, sometimes it can just be obviously clubs, like say in the case of saying a banquet and that regard, I think that was a case of obviously would have played for Ireland underage, would have come to people's attention there. Same with Liam Cardigan. When Liam Cardigan played for the Ireland 21s, he played. Remember, they played against Italy in the group, and actually one of the games there was a fair few people from Como who were like Dennis Wise is involved with them actually, and now obviously Cesc Fabregas has gone in there as well. But like,
and your man that you Portugal as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Portugal. Yeah, obviously, the Waterford United, the Ultra. But the thing is, he was in the league of the fans, wasn't he?
Ended up in the Vans and Pats, remember?
I know, yeah, madman. Interesting fella by all accounts. But I don't know, like I think people were maybe thinking, and like this is the thing as well. It was like people are thinking, oh, you know, it's great now. All these clubs gone, all these players, like say Cal Heffernan or obviously Kevin Zeffy leaving to go to Inter Milan, which is it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but it just people are loving it because it maybe sounds a bit more glamorous. But it's still the exact same issue of a young lad leaving home at 16 and going across to England. Like if that, and it's going to be harder for them because it's a different environment in terms of language. You never know, like people maybe associate, you jump across to England and you should settle in easily because of the language, and people maybe feel as if you understand, I don't know, the culture or whatever, but like it is different over there as well. Like even just from living in Manchester myself for a couple of years, you can see that. But like you're kind of just putting a different kind of slant on the issue. Like the issue is still going to be the most promising young lads leaving the country. They have to leave the country to continue their football education at a standard which will bring them on. Like that's still going to be the case for the next couple of years. Like even though there's so many good people working there's so many good people working in underage structures. They include Pagenda, believe it or not. Like they really are. And but what you call it. But at the same time, if they go abroad, people say, "Oh, it's great." You know, I say Colin Heffernan going to AC Milan, Kevin Zeffy going to Inter Milan. There was a young lad now even who's at Pax 19s. I think was
he's gone to France.
Was it Leon?
Rennes, was it?
There's another lad. There's another fella. Because there was even talk. Of the young lad Sam Curtis going to the Netherlands, signing for the club, you know, and I think was it PSV? Sorry, my head's gone here with that. The name just dropped. The team has dropped out of my head. But that's just the issue. The issue being is that's great when, you know, because obviously the route for a lot of these teenagers to the UK is blocked off. But when the problem is just going a bit further afield, doesn't get rid of the issue of that what needs to happen at home here in terms of how improving stuff. And like I said it before on a few places where, like, I don't think it's necessarily, the underage leagues now are great, but I don't think it's necessarily a case of you should try and have a little mini version of what's in the UK and that industry, because like it's massive, it's so big, and there is so much money involved and everything else and people around it. You kind of have to find, well, does that really work for Irish kids? Does that really work for Irish clubs? Just getting that almost like a mini system of what's in the UK. I don't think it does. You know, I think you have to try and find your own little niche in the market almost to say, well, how can you develop lads and keep them here and improve it and find your way? Because when you keep on hearing the stories, and there's even fewer clubs here than there is obviously in England, and you see so many clubs players getting spat out of that system and coming back broken. If they're coming back into a system here where it's not ready to take them, because there's already lads who are their own age or similar age going through from the club system here, well, then what's going to happen? You know what I mean? It's just almost going to be a bottleneck, and it's going to just make the problem even worse down the line, you know? That's what's coming. You see, we're going to see it now where young lads at 19 come through at the 19s who aren't quite ready to go into the first team and get signed up by a first team club, say the Rovers or the Pats or the Derry or the Cork or whoever, and they might drip down a little bit to the next tier within the league. But after that, what are you going to get? You're just going to get more kids going nowhere because they've been told they've been at elite footballers from the age of 13, which is just nonsense. Yeah. And then you throw in the whole mix of the fact that the sport and culture that's in this country as well. Like, you have to like nourish that as well. Like, you can't be like, I'm not a Gaelic man by any means, but at the same time, I just think it's mad that you would start saying to kids at 13, you can't play Gaelic football, or you shouldn't be playing Gaelic football, and you can only concentrate on this, or you can't play another sport and you have to be involved in a League of Ireland academy. When by the end of it, what have they got? Like, those lads who could be in English academies at 13, 14, and the nature of the business that's over there, it's probably suits their families to do it because they know they're going to get a few bob. That's not going to happen in the League of Ireland. And they are telling kids already at that age that you have to put all your eggs in one basket. It's crazy. It's crazy. So you have to think it's going to be a few kinks going to be ironed out over the next few years. And when you do kind of see the amount of lads falling away who don't make it and don't want to maybe become professional footballers, that it's going to be an issue we have in the UK. So rather than just lads speaking to lads who've come back, like say a Jack Chew who've been away and come back after a couple of years and not got that second contract, you could be speaking to lads who've spent their whole life here and have the same issue when they get past the 19s, you know?
I feel like we're having this conversation the last 10 or 15 years, like, and do you think the absence of like we have the under-19s league and then senior football, do you think an absence of the 21s league will help things?
I don't know, you would imagine if there was 21s, but then again, it's an additional cost that clubs, like, that was one of the reasons. I remember, remember the Rovers B team. Rovers had that for
Yeah,
a while and stuff, and that would have been used. Like, I don't know, it's just that there's the additional cost element to it. You would imagine that, yeah, having that buffer, but then you speak to people about what the 23 is football in England, and they say it's not proper. It's not a proper league. It does nobody any good. It's almost as
really.
if, well, yeah, because before, back in, like, say 20 years ago, say if it used to be the reserve team. Obviously, the reserve team would be a mix of maybe a couple of senior pros coming back from injury who might not be ready to play first team football, and then you've got maybe some of the younger lads who might not be quite ready to be, or are first team players in training, but not quite ready to be part of a first team squad. So, like, now it's like you speak to lads who have been involved with, say, 23s football. Like, there's a few coaches over there, and, like, it's about educating and all the rest in the pathway. But, like, if you're getting to that level and you're still playing there at 21, 22, chances are you're not going to, more so at this Premier League level, chances are you're not going to really break into that first team if you're still there, because normally the really elite lads are going to be doing it as teenagers, really.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, are going to be in and they kind of bypass that. It's the same kind of goals. It's beginning to change a little bit in terms of with the FAI and how they're doing things with the 21s. Like, before, like, Robbie Keane, I don't think Robbie Keane or Damien Duff would have played a game for the Ireland 21s. They would have went through and then jumped straight up to the seniors. That's just the nature of it, It's like with a lot of them. Now, it's not always, because we look, it is maybe with Ireland, and maybe this is kind of actually goes against what I'm just saying, but with some of the players, like, say, like a Josh Cullen, who's come through, like, he would have played 21s and kind of made that kind of slower progress, and that can still be the case, where there can be some lads who are still maybe slow burners a little bit. That'll always be the case. But just to go back, like, I don't know if having say under 21s league here would be, well, you would think so. It's gonna, if teams are willing to have share the cost of it and have it in their budgets to do it. But I don't know, I just kind of feel as if I think it's right, and a lot of it is right, where clubs put an emphasis on being able to develop their own players. But, like, the fact that I go, say, 14s, well, 13, well, it was 13s, 15s, 17s, 19s, there's little gaps in there as well. So I'm just not 100% sure how it's going to go down the line, if it would be a case of consistently producing players that are going to be capable of going in and playing League of Ireland first team football, or is it just a case of being able to develop a few lads and then sell them off still when you get a bit older to England? It's that balance, because it is the business. That's what they're going to have to do. So it's going to be something to keep an eye on over the next few years, about the number of drop-offs in terms of players and the progression, because, like, it's still playing catch up big time.
Well, you still see now, like, even with, say, Pat's 19s or Rovers 19s or Bows 19s, you often see the lads that, they should be graduating to the senior team of those respective clubs that would make a loan move to the first division. You've seen a couple of Rovers players already have made loan moves to Longford Town that, they haven't quite made it in the first team. We saw it last year with Darren Nugent was at Drogheda, and you see it this year with a couple of lads gone to Longford as well. So, I mean, I think there is a balance. I don't even know if that conversation is on the radar of the FAI at the moment. I know it was a couple of years ago, but I haven't heard it. I think they seem to be focusing on the third division. So that could include reserve clubs and universities and stuff like that. Maybe the Mayo League and stuff like that. So it remains to be seen, like, what happens. But I think we're always going to have people giving out whatever decision is made. You will have.
Sure, Rovers are going for the 4 in a row, and it's going to be the biggest load of whinge bags in Tala this year if he's out winning 4-0 at half time every game, ain't you see?
But that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? Like,
I know, yeah.
You might draw away to, like, Drogheda have been our bogey team the last couple of years up there, particularly. Might lose to Drogheda or draw to Drogheda, and then it's over, and then you win the league by about 12 points.
That's the thing. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And as you said, 4 in a row. It's so hard to win one league back to back, but you're going to try and do it 4 times. So, I mean, you have to enjoy it while you get it. Um, but going into the new season, a lot of clubs, including ourselves, seem to be going to the different markets in Scandinavia and Estonia and stuff, and
Yeah,
bringing in
Sligo.
players.
Yeah, Sligo have something. Sligo brought in a
Danish
brought in.
player.
I
Yeah,
know, but it's mad now because even like you're saying that, and then like even just earlier on today, I was like organising an interview with Roddy Gaffney for next week. Going to meet up with him just to because like vote best player in the league. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
I just still think even with him, like I'll be honest, like I remember meeting Rory when he was at Salford over there when he was playing there. And like meeting him for a coffee, and he was talking about like a lot of the time he used just to try and kill the day. That was the phrase he used, killing the day. And like to see where he is now, we coming back. I'll be honest, even after the first few months when he came back at Rovers, I didn't expect him to hit the levels that he was at last season. You know what I mean? And then obviously now you have Johnny Kenny coming in to even maybe pushing him a bit more. That's why one of the reasons why, like I know, and it's you're right in terms of see players coming from different parts of the world now. It is very interesting to actually to do that. But like I just think it's going to be fascinating for me. I'm looking at it, and I know you thought it was, but I'm actually not a Sean McRoberts supporter. You know, but I actually am very interested to see how Roddy Gaffin does again because like last year, like some of the performances, like I can't remember the last time I've seen a player or striker be as complete as him. And even a few of the goals were coming, but just how he was playing, he was absolutely fantastic last season.
Yeah, goals and assists, like he had about probably 20 between both, like
Yeah. And even in
almost.
Europe, he was some of the home games in Europe as well. Like,
Mm,
and way it was just fantastic. Like,
yeah.
just the
Was he 33 now?
so check. I think he was 32 last season, anyway, wasn't he? He was
Yeah,
definitely 32 last season.
yeah.
What you call it? And that's another thing I'm now getting my head around. Is like I'm 34, and I'm like I'm nearly. I think Alamanis is probably the only bleeding person in the league who I'm older than. Oh, younger than it's absolutely killing me. That is now
Yeah.
absolutely killing me.
I wonder though, are the teams that are buying outside the traditional markets going for those markets to try and compete in Europe a bit more?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like obviously with Sligo have the ones because they've got a couple of the Estonia got like, a couple of Estonian internationals coming in, haven't they? Or they got
We got Mark Pilm.
well,
Mark
yeah,
Pilm's
yeah.
son.
I
Remember
know,
Mark Pilm, Danny, the
I
goalkeeper
know.
from Derby?
Derby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we signed the son on loan from Flora Tallinn. So
yeah.
like
But
I heard through in the friendly games he's been excellent.
that's even that. I remember when Rovers announced that and they sent the email out, they buried the actual fact that he was related to Mark Pill down near the end. Like that should have been like
the top
the
paragraph.
headline. Yeah, absolutely. You remember him at Derby? Was he? He ended up at Arsenal, didn't he? But he was at Derby. Remember him at
Yeah,
Derby County?
yeah.
Definitely Derby, yeah.
Yeah, quality goalkeeper. That big. No,
He got signed up then as like a number two to. I think you're right. I think it might be an Arsenal one. Was that
Was Arsenal, yeah.
when Alex
yeah,
Manninger was their number one? I think was it
Alex Manninger.
Was Manninger
Yeah,
there number one?
for a
I think he
little
was for a
while.
while.
The
Yeah,
Austrian lad?
I think Seaman retired and then he filled the gap for like a season and a half. And then did he go to like Juventus or something like that? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
he did. Yeah, yeah. There was that little buffer, wasn't there? When like a lot, like when Seaman retired, because I think Seaman retired around was it 2000? No, he left. Excuse me, I think he left
Yeah, sorry.
Arsenal in 2002 after he won the league in 0102, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
then
yeah. It was
he
after
ended up
World
going to
Cup.
see
After
yeah.
World Cup, he went, and then what was about
Like,
04, they brought in Jens Lehmann.
Lehman, yeah, because he was in that team, yeah. But yeah, Mark Hill, that's gonna be interesting. But like, you're right though. Sorry about maybe bringing other players in or from different. Looking at Europe, you would think that it would make sense, but I think sometimes as well, like it could just be a necessity whereby you just feel as if even in the league, even to actually qualify for Europe or to push up, that you know what the quality in the league isn't there. That like it can be kind of. You know, if you don't do your business, if you don't do your business early, you can be chasing your tail, and you might end up getting the wrong bodies through and paying over the odds for certain players, you know, and that's probably why maybe sometimes as well. And this is the prevalence and maybe of even different agents as well can come into it, whereby like I don't know, different managers might have different contacts or stuff like that because like, that's just the nature of football. It really is,
Yeah,
like you know
yeah.
what I mean. And you might have a name somewhere as well, and then there also could be the point where if a club is able to actually offer a decent contract. And one of the big things now is, and why you might even see more is the fact that the clubs now even are pretty much offering full-time 52-week a year contracts. This whole business of 40-week contracts to cover you for the season. Like the chances of you getting someone to come abroad for that are like who are
next
decent.
to none. Yeah,
you're not gonna get them. Like,
no.
Again, another story. You know what I mean? Lads who trying to remember, like you know what I mean? Lads finishing the season, like playing a cup final one week and then they're unemployed or essentially for a few weeks. You know what I mean? Like
signing on.
Yeah, I remember Conan Bourne even saying that. I remember when he finished. I think it was the season before last, but we finished with Pats, and he was like ended up working in Diffney's in town just over Christmas, just to kind of to see him through. I think just before he was qualifying to be a teacher and stuff, you know. And this is the stuff that players have been dealing with. I'm sure some will still be dealing with that maybe in a while, but again, it just ties in with the whole nature of where the league is going and the kind of everything. Like we could be here all night talking about what some of the changes the PFAI want to make in terms of standardised contracts and the basic thing of minimum wage. Do you know what I mean? That's something that they've been fighting for, you know. So,
there was a story there that there was a Danish player, maybe not Danish, but a player in the Scandinavian League, Rovers were looking at, and they were dealing with his agent, and they were pretty hopeful of getting it over the line. And then the agent asked for $6,000 a week for the player and an apartment in Dublin City. That was in December, like.
Just gone. Really?
Just gone, yeah. So, like, there's a housing crisis here, and we've got players looking for League of Ireland clubs to put up an apartment in Dublin City.
But but like the stuff like that, that's just like again, it's just
involved with the AIL. That's what they want. Oh, yeah.
The what?
The rugby boys giving out houses everywhere.
Do they?
And they did back. Yeah, that used to be the scandal that they couldn't officially pay them, so they'd give them a house and all that instead.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, like, that would be a big thing for clubs where they would have houses.
They'd have a house.
You know
All of them living it though.
Yeah, sure. We mentioned Sligo up in Riverstown, like some of the great stories from back in the day when they were winning the league and winning cups, like when obviously it was Paul Cook and Barraclough, and I think they still do have a fair few houses up in that area, Riverstown. And I'm trying to think, even Shells. I know Shells do. Like, remember I was doing an interview with Mark Coyle. He was in a house with three of the Shells boys last season.
Rovers have one as well near Roadstone.
Do they? Yeah.
Clondalkin, yeah, where like the country players would live there, like Lee Grace, and I know under Michael O'Neill's reign, Alan Manus would have lived there and stuff. Gary Twigg. So yeah, it's but like you wouldn't be getting buying a house for one player to live in and looking over the Liffey.
Imagine actually, yeah.
Evan Ferguson is the latest. He's doing really well. What do you think his trajectory was predicted in his like, how he's had such an impact on Brighton, and even I've watched him and he just does not look out of place. Now I remember seeing him play for Bowes underage as well and thinking, geez, this lad's a fucking unit. Was he unit like 15?
But sure, he played in that game, didn't he, when he was 14 against Chelsea?
Against Chelsea, yeah. He played against Billy Gilmore, now their teammates.
Yeah.
That's a great story as well. But do you think Stephen Kenny will, if he's fit, will start him against France?
Well, if he's fit, yeah. If he was, if he's fit, and this is the thing. I'm like, I literally have my phone here because of, like, I know I saw one of the stories earlier that they don't think the injury is as bad. Because even
bruising or something.
Yeah, like even yesterday, like I was chatting to a couple of different people, I say at Brighton and just with Ireland as well, just trying to suss out, well, what's going on here in terms of what's the significant, or how significant is the injury. And it was like, kind of said, they're still waiting to find out, you know what I mean? Like that they're hopeful that it's not, say, the ACL, that it could be a medial, then they're kind of still waiting. But the nature of it with the swelling and all, you might need to go for a second or even a third scan, just because sometimes if swelling can be that bad, they can't actually fully determine the nature of or how bad the injury is.
I don't think it was as bad as first feared, because they called off signing a replacement striker in the window.
Yeah, I know. Well, that seems to be the case. But then again, like, this is what I'm trying to do for the last little while, is actually get that nailed down 100%. I'm still obviously seeing what the crack is with, even with Brighton today, announced something. But like, I don't know, like Stephen Kenny and the staff would have earmarked it, I'd say, over the last month when they seen what he was doing. Like, I know when I was over a couple of weeks ago, Spoke to Stephen Kenny outside Stokes stadium before one of their games, and Ferguson came off the bench in that game and scored. Remember the header, late header, cracking goal. I think he was planning on going to that game, and obviously because Ferguson wasn't starting, there was no point if he wanted to go and see players who are starting. And then he was at the game on Sunday watching when he obviously was tackled by Fabinho and stuff. So no, like it was definitely a case of like looking at him and seeing, well, what shape is he going to be in? And we don't know. Hopefully, like I think the talk now is that the injury could be days and not weeks. So that would actually then suggest that he could possibly be back match fit and playing and within the Brighton team, or at least playing regularly enough to warrant it. But yeah, like I'd be very surprised if he's fit. If he, let's say, fingers crossed, he's back playing within the next couple of weeks, and I think Brighton have about 7 or 8 games in the Premier League. Like if he's able to play 4 or 5 of them and is back sharp, he'll 100% be in the mix to be starting.
Yeah, the only reason why I ask is because he seems to be Kenny seems to like introduce these new lads to the squad, but doesn't play them until they get squad 3, 2 or 3.
I think goals have been a problem, really, haven't they? Like Callum Robinson is the top scorer, isn't he? And like fucking 6 of them came across 2 or 3 games. You know what I mean? So if you've got a chap who is performing at Premier League level, and as you said, Mary, he doesn't look out of place, I think Kenny, his hand is forced. He kind of has to say, throw him in. That's go for it. Like so.
And that's the thing as well. Like you were saying earlier, Mero, about was this seen or was this expected of him? And like the fact is that it kind of was, in terms of it was expected that as a young fella, and the attitude he has and temperament and mentality he had at a young age, he was very good at taking on information, taking on instructions, developing his game, working on his game, asking questions, but being very confident and being forthright. And then when you mix that up with the physical attributes that are needed, that he has got a bit of a turn of pace, that he's strong, he's built. Like, I know it's mad to say it, but it does kind of remind you of, a Wayne Rooney at that age, in terms of having that physique of an older person. I'm not saying obviously different, they're totally different players. I think Rooney Rooney for one was a better player and was a lot more explosive. But even like if you speak to people at Brighton, or you speak to people who worked on them at Ireland, and this would go from underage, say 21s, as well as even with the seniors, he just takes on information. He understands the game, what's being asked of him. Like, he's not a young fella who you have to tell things twice to. Do you know what I mean? You tell him once and he gets it. And even little things in terms of what I was saying there about, like, you can trust him in terms of just the nature of how he plays the game as well. Like he's ideal for the type of game against France as well, in terms of being that figurehead up front who would occupy a couple of defenders, even at that age, and give them something to think about, but capable of holding the ball up and giving Ireland that little bit of respite and giving them a bit of breathing space when you need to get up the pitch, if you need to hold on to it. Like, he seems already to have that ability to do that. And just the hope is that the injury that he has got isn't going to be something that kind of niggles away, because even though it might not be as serious as feared, he still needs to get over it and get back fit, because the last thing you want then is maybe for something else to happen and then to be a domino effect. That's just the worst case scenario.
Would you start him and Obafemi together?
Yeah, well, see, this is another thing, and just shows you the nature of football. Like, Obafemi had barely kicked the ball in the first half of the season for Swansea because he pushed for that move, and it's come now. Like, again, like, I think Burnley are pretty much certain now to qualify to get promoted to the Premier League. Like, they're motoring along. I think they're like about 17 or 18 points clear of the third place in the Championship. So if he can get into that team and they put him in, and like, it's one of them where they can kind of afford to put him in and maybe risk having a couple of bad. No, I don't mean it's a risk to put him in.
But I don't. They've signed him to play him though, because they've been chasing him.
And he's on loan as well. So that even makes, you know what I mean? Like he's on loan, so you would think that they want to get him straight in there. Like, if he's playing. See, the thing with Obafemi is as well, and you have to even remember, like last year, he asked not to be included in the squad for the friendlies. Remember, near the start of the year against Lithuania, because he was still at a point where he wasn't able to play 3 games in a week, or even back-to-back games, because his body was breaking down. Like, the issues he had at Southampton with his hamstrings and his lower back, like, that was hampering him. And then it was that for him, Swansea were the ones who, like, and your man Russell Martin, and it's probably part of the reason why he did get bombed out at Swansea a little bit, was because they probably thought, well, we did so much for you to get you up to speed and playing football and look after you. And the phrase of football is managing your load in terms of training and matches. Like, it was only last year where that was a struggle. So now, when he hasn't been playing, it's going to be interesting to see over the next little while, can he do that again? Like, will he be able to keep on playing and not break down with different injuries? Because, like, you forget he was a Premier League player at 18. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Scored at Old Trafford.
Yeah. That's right. Actually, like a little poacher goal, wasn't it? Back post.
Yeah.
But then I scored at Chelsea as well. Scored at Stamford Bridge. But you know what I mean? And he's still such a young fella as well. I'm sure we've seen in the games from the summer on against Scotland. But sorry, the point I was making when you're saying about it was, like, Kenny done well in terms of understanding where he was at, in terms of maybe wanting to get his body right. And like, some managers might have said, well, you turn down a call up, like,
shove it up your hole.
Sure, exactly, yeah. Fuck you, like, we don't want you then, whatever. But I think Kenny was understanding on it, that, which was good management on his behalf. And that's kind of helping. The hope now is that he's at a club now, like, again, being over there and speaking to company, like, and how he's doing things. Like, it's just, there's a reason why they're motoring along at the top. He's a seriously impressive fella when you even speak to him. Like, just, I know it's so obvious to say, considering the career he had as a player, the last stage, but, like, you know, when you have in the room, like, when I was over there for that article I did a couple of weeks ago, and doing it, and Chris Wilder was doing commentary for Sky, and he stayed in at the back of the press conference when he was there, and was just literally like staring at company for the whole press conference, just transfixed by what he was saying. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, when if you speak to a fella and he just kind of holds the room kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, like, there's very few, like, even you speak to some people, like, and he is one, like, and it's not even as like he's mad intense or anything. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of hard to
mad about Josh Cullen, isn't he?
Oh, stop. He was literally one of I was the last person to ask him a question that evening, and he was, like, literally about to leave, and I just threw it out there, and it was always lit up. I always assume when because he brought him over to Anderlecht, you know, when he was had been at Charlton at League One, who Gavin Kilkenny actually has just gone to on loan from Bournemouth. But like, I thought, but company, very honest, he said, like, they brought him there as a squad player. He kind of needed bodies in the door, and he said he might be handy to have as a squad player, and he became the most important player in that Anderlecht team. And then when company got the job at Burnley, now bear in mind the nature of what's happening with Burnley, like, they needed promotion forced back up because of the nature of that takeover. Like, they would have been owing a serious amount of money, and I think they still will owe money at the end of how the takeover had been structured. The fact that they're going to get promoted back to the Premier League, they'll be able to obviously pay it, and it's not going to be so companies with that serious pressure to deliver straight away, and one of the first people he wanted in the door was Cullen, and he's played nearly every game. I think he missed the game, was it injury or might have been a suspension. But that game against, I was over there, and don't get me wrong, like, it's West Brom as well, and a couple of Irish lads there was good, but you just see it, and it was a mad game. Like, it was freezing cold.
1-0 down though.
They're 1-0 down after about 7 or 8 minutes, and then actually Cullen got fouled at the edge of the box when he scored the winner with a couple of minutes to go. But in the game, it was being a real hectic game, and like Jason Malumbi was quite superb in the game everywhere. Have so much energy. You could see the two of them. If the two of them are in the similar form, you've got a good kind of combination there for the midfield in terms of for Ireland.
Are they names to beat France though?
Well, let's be honest. Like, Ireland beating France, what you're going to need luck, but you're also going to. I think you're also going to need. Points going to make. You're kind of going to need what they are capable of delivering. Is you have Malumbi, who just brings an intensity and an energy that, against Scotland, it's Scotland, it's a completely different level to France. But that's how Ireland need to get about a team.
That's international football as well, though.
Yeah, but that's what Ireland need to do against the France, is have a disruptor like that who's capable of actually making it a bit of a dirty, manky game in there. And then you have a Cullen, like what he did in the game. He's just, he gets it, he gives it, he passes, he moves, he's just always available, and it's so simple. It's nothing spectacular. Like, it's not as if he's making 50-yard passes or he's like splitting open defenses. But when he gets the ball, he's moving at 10, 15, 20 yards forward or to the side and other angles, and he's just constant. He's constantly head on the swivel, and it's all the time. And if you kind of have that dynamic in the midfield where you have someone like a Malumbi, and then you have someone like a Cullen, it could work. That's what you need to have. Like, you need to have that bit of aggression and a bit of saying, like, just that little bit of an edge. But Cullen has that bit of an edge as well if needs be, but then also can bring a bit of a calmness. And you kind of saw them beginning to see now with Malumbi under the manager Carlos Corberán at West Brom, that he's beginning to get that a little bit, as well as being like a madman. That's what Darragh O'Shea said.
He's after making Darragh O'Shea captain at 23, like.
Yeah, I know, because Jake Livermore's not playing, like O'Shea. I was over with the two boys a few weeks ago, doing a piece with the two of them together, just because they are like the exact same age, 23. Like Darragh O'Shea has a young kid, like only 6 months old. Malumbi isn't. I think he's got a girlfriend and stuff, but like Malumbi was living with them when he was on loan. He was living with O'Shea, and O'Shea is I think it's I'm pretty sure it's his fiance, definitely a partner, obviously.
Yeah.
And then obviously once the baby came, they had to fuck Malumbi out of gaff, you know what I mean? But like, it's just interesting. Like, and that's one of the good things with this Ireland team. You kind of feel like there's a lot of these lads who are a similar age and are coming through at the same time together, and you just hope. Like, we no better game for them to all come of age together than to get something against France.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
There is reasons to be optimistic for kind of, or like we've seen, and in fairness, like I always want the people in kind of Kenny's early phase where it's like, I'm not sure this is. Get people are saying like, given time and the style of football is more important than results right now and all that. But like now, I'm happy to say like I was wrong. I feel like I was wrong about this. You know what I mean? And it seems like there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about kind of the international team going forward. Fair enough, the France game is obviously going to be a massive test, but overall, like expectations have to be high in terms of.
No, this is the thing. Like. Yeah, and look, I would say at the start of, obviously this is the man. When you think about it, like one of the, I think it was third game in charge, Kenny, was the playoff against Slovakia, wasn't it? Just on how the nature of obviously what happened with COVID and how games had been postponed and all the rest of it, and how Mick McCarthy's contract was finishing. So that kind of skewed things a little bit. But like at the start, he obviously made so many changes, brought players through, but that kind of needed to be done. And I think regardless of who the manager was, it had to be done. And if you look at it now in terms of reasons to be optimism or to be optimistic, like there should be, but there's also has to be, now is the time for delivering results as well, even though they are young, because they've had a bit of a bedding in time. And I say delivering results or performances, the nature of the group that Ireland are in with France and the Netherlands.
Exactly.
Like it's going to be extremely tough, but like, it's just, let's see what they can do. Because if you look at it, you've got, like, if you go through the core now of the team, you've got Gavin Bazunu, who Premier League goalkeeper, albeit they're bottom of the Premier League, and he's having a tough season, but he's shown his caliber, like playing for Ireland and what he's capable of. Like, you've got Nathan Collins playing for Wolves in the Premier League, and like, unless Wolves do something, like I can see him moving again at the end of the season, because just I'm watching him in the flesh against Man City, against Haaland. Like, Haaland scored a hat-trick, and in fairness, Haaland got over him for the fourth goal in that game. But everything else in that game, like moments when City were on top and it was a manic game, he just brought an unbelievable sense of calm to how Wolves played. And it was like, their tactic seemed to be to get to the halfway line to pass the ball back to him, just so they knew he'd keep it. And like, he was the one who was organising everything. And same with Bazunu, like watching him, he just organises constantly, and he's constantly kind of, even for
confidence out of him for his age as well.
Yeah, but then you look around and you've got Darragh O'Shea, who again, who's captain in the team, has that leadership responsibility. You're hoping that he'll kick on. Will he become a Premier League player? Like, Cullen's going to become that Premier League player soon, and is in a very good team. Obviously, there's Evan Ferguson, there's Obafemi, who still hoping can kick on. Troy Parry had a terrible injury, that hamstring injury, at a time when people were looking for him to kick on a little bit and seem to be progressing. And then obviously there's Jason Malumbi, who has just had a fantastic season with West Brom. It was all relative, because let's be honest, like the players we're mentioning there, like compared to France, do you know what I mean? Like, you know,
Holland.
No, yeah, exactly. But then you're like, but the whole point is, and what you're saying, Danny, is that the work that Stephen Kenny and the staff should have been doing over the last little while is that these players feel as if they are in an actual unit, and they're in an environment where they can go and put it up against these teams. Because that's what Ireland teams have always had. Might not always do it, but that's what they have to have. You know what I mean? And have that capability to be able some of the standard of football that they can play and mix it up, but then also have that, what I was saying earlier, with that aggression and have that spirit, because it's not as if, and this seems to be one of the things that's sometimes, and maybe it's more so in the media, seems to be throwing at Kenny, is that he's wanted to get rid of the kind of spirit that was there before and change everything about how Ireland's played. It's not, it's just trying to modernise it a little bit, because if you stay doing the same thing, expecting the same thing, and not moving forward, then you're going to get left behind. And that was what was going to begin to happen when you saw going home and away against teams like Georgia, and you're having less of the ball than them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And you might,
you might scrape that match in Tbilisi, you fucking shit show.
Oh, stop! Like, you know, and even the home game when Coleman scores, you know, like, yeah, you might scrape that 1-0, you might scrape that win there, because kind of even, excuse me, because they're still on the rise a little bit, and you still have enough to get over the line. But eventually, that's gonna tilt over, and you'll be the one dropping down. So, like, the work that's been happening over the last while has been needed. But the nature now, and all the players, and Stephen Kenny's aware of it as well, is delivering performances that can get you results as well.
Yeah. But then, I feel like I'm going into this campaign like I went into the 2002 World Cup qualifying campaign when you're with Portugal and Holland in the one group, and I feel like it's like I've no expectation of getting out of this group at all. So I'm not.
But the expectation should be, and I would say as well, like, I'm sorry for cutting across you, but like, I would say the expectation is, like, realistically, you're not thinking Ireland are going to get out of this group now because of the caliber, but you just want to see from the last couple of years
progression.
It's a progression for the team, because there's been so many moments in games where Ireland have got into strong positions, like Ukraine, and I was in neutral territory because obviously with the war, when they played in Woods in Poland, like when Nathan Collins scored that amazing goal, and then they give away a stupid goal so silly so early in the second half. Did the same against Scotland. They had those moments against Armenia, but then when they were obviously 2-0 up and cruising, and then the same away. You know what I mean? Like, what you're looking at is that those moments don't happen again. Like, you can take your hat, you can kind of hold your hands up and say, do you know what, if France outclass Ireland and win comfortably, which they're more than capable of doing, even on Ireland's best day, you can accept that. But it's more so seeing a team that you think, you know what, it's working.
Well, with that said, then is it if we don't qualify, he's gone then, or is it if we show signs of more progression and no little niggly mistakes like we had previously, like, you know, is it going to be moral defeats me and give him another 2 years, or is it if you don't qualify, good luck?
I don't know.
It's a very early question, and I don't.
Yeah, it's the start. No, well, you did anyway. Well, never. I don't know. Like, this is the thing. Like,
I just mean that not for you. I just mean with supporters and stuff. Is it a case of it's results now? You've had 2 campaigns. Now it's your 3rd campaign.
Do you know what? Right, I would say, 100%. Like, if Ireland go out and are absolutely brutal against France. Terrible, can't pass the ball, can't do one, and like nick a 1-0. I think everyone's going to be like, you know what I mean? If you've leaving lads be Olayan coming out with Lansdowne Road, absolutely no problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone will say that could be. And do you know what? Like, it's almost like try and almost go at this first game against France, because even though, like, I was making the point just in one of the pieces I was doing for 42 at the start of the year, looking at the year, is like, even though it's France and no one expects Ireland to win, it still can be a game that can set the tone for the whole campaign. Because in the last couple of campaigns that Ireland have played in, they've booked it in the first one. Like, I don't want, like they really have. You know what I mean? Like, the first campaign, when they obviously lose to Serbia, having gone a goal up, and you lose that game 3-2, and then that Luxembourg game, like, within the first month of a campaign, you're gone.
It's gone, it's over, yeah.
And then Armenia as well, like, away from home, when there was so much kind of enthusiasm a little bit about it, and like Ireland just can't break a low block team down and then get suckered. And it wasn't even like it was a sucker, because it was a long range shot, but something that was coming in the game, you could kind of sense it. If you remember that game where, like, you know what, they were just kind of they were letting Ireland play the way they wanted it and then pick them off or whatever. Whereas now you're kind of hoping, like, just go at this game, and because it could be a game in the first game, if they get, no matter how you play, like, scabbing a result, it might just set a tone and give a bit of a encouragement that could be used. Listen, I'm a journalist, but I'm also like I'm Irish, so you want Ireland to win. You know what I mean? And at the end of it, it's like if you kind of get the sense, well, you know what, a lot of stuff has come through with players being brought through, but if you feel as if even if you don't get that result and if things aren't going well after the campaign, because obviously isn't it Greece is in June, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like that would be important. Like, but I just do think so much can ride on that first game against France in terms of somehow getting a result. Like it'd be amazing. Like especially in the Aviva as well. The fact that it'd be at home, like it could just buy in time because he's at the stage now where like everyone says, "Oh, it's about results. It's about results." Like that's all that will keep him now. And I'm sure Stephen Kenny knows this, and everyone knows this now. Results will keep him in the job. I don't think it's going to be the only thing, but if no matter what, if he gets results now, like if he starts getting results and Ireland are flying it, all the people who have been criticising him can't because that's all they've thrown at him. You know what I mean? Results. That is now what like any manager what he has to deliver because in fairness he and I think part of the reason why people have kind of stuck by him because let's be honest, it's mad, but let's be honest, like people who've been going to see it, I think they would have turned on him sooner. I would have thought if they hadn't said, well, you know what, you can actually see what he's trying to do. We can see what they're trying to do and who they're trying to bring in. And like,
he's had terrible luck with assistant managers and coaches and everything, COVID and everything. But come here, you have to go to football. So thanks so much for your time.
No bother. No worries. Thanks very much for.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Having us,
yeah, you're a gentleman, and I look forward to your future articles with the 42.ie.
No bother. Thanks very much, Graham.
Where can anyone get you on Twitter?
I don't know. Well, it depends. Like,
what's your Twitter account?
Sorry, David Sneyd. Just David Sneyd. I was gonna say because normally sometimes if I've had a drink, I'd just be a fucking idiot or something. So I'm kind of now that I'm actually employed and don't
have to be careful
and don't work for myself, I have to try and remember I'm a responsible adult with a child and a mortgage and all the rest of it.
Set up a burner account.
I know. Oh, jeez, like some of the people. Oh my god, no chance. But this is the thing. Like even with, like, I know. Sorry, this is a bit of another tangent, but like
that's what we're all about.
Some people take it far too seriously. Just use that as a bit of a joke.
I know, yeah. Well, we've a friend that actually takes it as a total joke, and like for example, today he just targets photographers, amateur photographers. And he posts, if they post a picture, he'll say to them, "That's not your picture. You should credit the person who took the photo." And the photographer will either ignore them or just fucking flip. "What do you mean it's not my photograph?" And then he'd be like, "Look, we'll discuss it over Zoom. You've obviously had a drink."
I put up and I was watching it briefly the other day. I was like, put up a tweet about Ali McCoist when he was commentating.
Oh yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I agreed with it.
Yeah. And I was like, because he just said, you listen to him, I was like, this fella, like, he just likes football and just seems happy or whatever. And then someone, and I didn't reply, I was so tempted to reply to him. Someone replied to my tweet saying, like, start saying, "Oh, he's a bit weird, he's gone off now with his beard and all this and all the rest." And then someone replied, "That's Brian McClare." Have you seen Brian McClare?
Yeah, I've seen Brian McClare. Mad thing.
Have you had him on your pod? He'd be a great fella to have on. He has because he has his own. He does a podcast, but he's a great fella. If you listen to some of his stuff, he's like.
I haven't even heard his voice since the 90s.
Yeah. I'm not gonna try and do a Scottish accent, but you can imagine. But no, there's a show. I
didn't even know he had a podcast.
Yeah, he's got a podcast. Yeah, sure.
I thought he was.
Everyone has a podcast.
Yeah, for fuck's sake. We're 8 years old this year, so we're the OGs.
I was gonna say 8 years, and you're now is this scraping the barrel when you're coming towards me?
No comment. Thanks very much for your time.
No bother.
I
look forward to abusing a League of Ireland match. So.
Oh, that was a good chat, wasn't it?
Yeah, good tangent. A good traditional What's the Story podcast tangent. And I love Dave, and I love his articles. And I don't know if you're quite familiar with his articles, but he has this great style, where when he has his subjects, he walks with them and just tells a story. And he did the FAI Cup final between Pats and Bows. He did a great one with Keith Buckley and Christy Forrester, and they were just walking down their street and they were bumping into uncles, and he's just a great style about him, and I get lost in his articles, like, you know, and they're very good. So one of my favorite Irish sports journalists, David Sneyd, amongst many great Irish sports journalists, Dan McDonald, Ken Early, David is definitely up there with them.
Absolutely. I always enjoy a chat with a guest where they take on a little bit of a journey. You know what I mean? And Dave was. It strikes me as he's a fan, but equally he's so fucking knowledgeable. You know what I mean? So there's a passion within that knowledge that is deep rooted within his sense of being a fan.
Yeah, that's what he said as well. Like, he's a fan, and like, if you remember when we spoke to Ken Early over the years, and when he was following Ireland over the years, you know, he said he couldn't get help sometimes getting lost, particularly I think the Shane Long goal against Germany. You know, and that's what Dave. Look, when you see the English journos getting lost when they come out of a group stage and think they're going to win the tournament. So when we win a qualifier of importance, I'm sure they get as excited as us.
That's it. I look forward to him popping the champers when we beat France in a couple of weeks' time. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Evan Ferguson going to do bits, baby.
I can't wait, man. Can't wait. That's it for this week. Then, Mero, people want to listen to the previous episodes, including the one that we just recorded, and we've botched all of this together for look at grant. Where can they do so?
They can go to WTSpod.com. They can go to us on Twitter at WTSPod. You can also search WTS Pod on all podcast providers. That includes Podbean, Podcast Republic, Apple Podcast, anywhere, everywhere you get a podcast. Spotify, anywhere and everywhere you get a podcast. He's at Danjo Murray on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mary Gamady on Twitter and Instagram. And until next time, clear eyes.
Full hearts.
Can't lose. Too sweet.